Freedom Fighters, I'm coming back at you with a sore throat, but I'm still here for the Friday weekly wrap up. So that's some dedication, man. If you're new here, like, share, and if I earn your subscription, that will be greatly appreciated. We've been closing in on 1,000 subscriptions for a while. I'd really like to get over that hump. I cover news and politics and do gear reviews and some other stuff, but that's what we're going to be talking about today is the recent political elections. We're going to go over that. And there's other stuff to talk about. I'm going to probably touch on, I guess, get it over with now that we're in the longest government shutdown ever. We've talked a little bit about that. Um it looks like the Supreme Court is ruling that Trump's tariffs were illegal and he's going to have to pay that back. Along with today, they ordered him to pay all the SNAP benefits. So it appears that you can do nothing as a president, and who really runs the country are badges and robes, which I've always said all along. But that's probably as much as I'm going to cover on that subject and really get to the main topic today, which I wanted to go over these election results. And, I've been seeing a lot of commenters and, content creators talk about this. And I saw this one tweet from Tim Pool where, people were saying, how quick New Yorkers were to forget. And it shows a picture of the Twin Towers. I'll try to post that or link the tweet to the video, but it says yeah, how quick New Yorkers forgot, and it shows the Twin Towers falling and then Memdami being elected. And Tim Pool says, it's not that they forgot, they were conquered, which I've talked about, a lot with the open borders and the immigration and the sanctuary policies of New York, which brings them all in. And we've talked about, demographics being destiny and how you bring in the third world and you become the third world. You have one of the largest, African and Muslim populations in New York. Are you surprised what they vote in? And I guess people, were surprised. And we're going to go over some of this charting here that I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen already, but this first chart here, 84% of Gen Z women, of young women, voted for Mamdani. And you've got, 12% undecided or non-voters, and it doesn't even register in the Republican or the men vote. It was like young men barely voted for that. A lot of other people here. Oh yeah, men 18 to 29, Gen Z 68 to 26% non-decided or non-voted. So again, man, this whole I covered too about the hopium of the right constantly pushing, oh, the young generation is moving right, and the young men. This is all internet bubble hopium, right? When you're in your little bubble on the internet and you're hearing your base tweets from, some young guy, he is the outlier. He is the unicorn. I've been telling you for a while. If you actually get out there and talk to these young guys, they're overwhelmingly leftist. They're soy boys. They don't know nothing, man. Like, I've tried to get to these people and train, younger guys. And I remember a while back, I mean, this was even like a decade ago, when I went to my cousin's college and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I'm going training this weekend and all that. And I took out one of my firearms, and a group of guys were like, whoa, oh, that's so cool, let me check it out, and like, all this stuff. And I'm like, these are college age young men a decade ago, and I'm like, you guys have no, like, you've never seen a firearm, you've never like trained or anything like that. And it literally is the Call of Duty soy boy generation, who has no clue. We have another chart here of it was mainly liberal white women, which we've talked about. And I don't know if you've seen this lady. I have to bring up this video. I'm not for I can't remember her name or if they even gave her name, but she was on a Fox News town hall video, and she is the definition of a bleeding heart liberal. And she goes on about, oh, the images we've had of these ICE raids and what's happening to our neighbors. I don't want this for my neighbor. And trans rights and children not be able to get their gender affirming care. These are her main issues, and this is why women in general, the voting block is so skewed. They vote on emotions. We've talked this over and over, and why feminism is the fall of the West, and they're easily manipulated. And white liberal women in specific have been the most coddled and Disneyed. I that's what I call it. They've been the Disney princess coddled generation of love and rainbows, and a literal communist will stand before them and tell them everything's gonna be great, and we're gonna be so loving and caring, and we're gonna bring these people in. And she's like, oh, but our neighbors and this and that. What about you? What about you and your family, your country, and your culture? They care nothing for that. And meanwhile, and what about all these people in like Britain and stuff like that? You want to see what it's gonna look like? It's gonna be people getting freaking stabbed every weekend, every other day, beheadings, grapings. I mean, these people are literally, they will chop off your head and grape your corpse, but you're worried about your neighbor getting taken away in an ice raid, or them not getting, your troon kids not being able to get their, genitals chopped off. And someone wrote this other tweet. I'm gonna have to post that too. See if I have this here, but yeah, Bad Hombre said New York City liberal white woman asked what her biggest concerns are, and she says it's her legal alien or illegal alien neighbor getting taken off the street and kids not getting sex changes. This is the biggest demographic problem facing America. It isn't even close. And I saw countless other tweets of the same, even normies. Cat Turd posted something about white liberal women. Um, Everyone's realizing. I mean, the chart is clear, and New York is screwed. But moving on to the next one, what do we have here? We have Virginia, which was another sickening defeat, and Virginia is my birth state. Was my home, and I still have family all over Virginia. I love Virginia. I still consider that, my home. And that is the home of, George Washington and countless other founding fathers. The landing point and the starting point of this country. As a kid, we went to field trips to Jamestown, the landing spot and the starting point of the country. We went to presidential houses, and as an adult I've since gone to Monticello and um Montpelier, or is it Mont Vernon? I can't remember which one now, but we have Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, George Washington, all these people. It is a history ripe state of patriotism. And I've often said about Virginia, people talk about um Alaska and Texas as where most people consider themselves American, but those two states consider them Texans first or Alaskans first. They have their separate identity. And I've often felt that about Virginia, and that's why my profile picture has always been of Robert E. Lee, and one of the best generals ever in history. And we've talked about it over and over about the lies of the Civil War and all that. And it's not because he was a racist bigot, blah blah blah, in favor of slavery. He said profusely that he sided with the South and decided to be. He had offers to be a general for the North. Because both Grant and Lee and a lot of the generals, North and South, were from West Point. And he said, no, I have to side with my home state of Virginia. And that's what he did. And he went on that. And Virginia's going to see a lot of changes. It already has a lot of changes. And I'm going to bring up the polling there again. And I'll try to post all this stuff. Yeah, the voting block here, males 47% and females 53%. Or no, that's 47% Democrat, 53% Republican. And then the female vote was 64 Democrat, 36 Republican. And you look at the demographics, white, 54% Republican, 46 Democrat, black. And what have I said, man? Back in the day when they were telling you about, Brexit and, oh, they're starting to wake up and they're coming over. And what did I say? I said, mark my words. These elections, they will always vote 90-10, somewhere around there. I believe Trump won them over a little bit, and maybe it was like 88-12. But you're not waking these people up. You're not going to win them over, right? So here you have 92% to 8 voting Democrat. Hispanic and Latino 66-34. Asians overwhelmingly voting 78-21. Over and over. Just look at race in a whole. White 54 to the right, 46% to the left. Non-white, it's clear as day, man. 80% of non-whites going left, 81 specifically, and 18 to the right. Demographics is destiny, and it's something we've talked about, over and over. And it's not even racism, and some coming from a person of mixed racial. I myself am a Nick Fuentes, I guess we'll call it that, a true Afro Latino American, right? But coming from that, I can tell you, importing these people from these countries is not going to turn out a American. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, your freedoms, your liberties will be eroded by bringing these people in. And it's not, it's just a fact. It is what it is. And you have Laura Ingraham evenly coming out with this post saying mass immigration, both legal and illegal, has profoundly changed Virginia and destroyed California. I mean, she's sounding like a full-on, what is this, Red Ice TV? She's sounding like Lana over there at Red Ice, or she's some kind of race realist now. But this is the thing, man. Even normies are figuring out coming to the conclusion here. And what I was gonna say is, like, even I used to always be a fan of like merit-based immigration. But even if you bring in the doctors and the lawyers and these people with degrees and stuff, you're still turning your country left. Importing these foreign people, man, they don't have this 1776. It's not in their blood, right? Pure freedom and liberty and the stuff we hold dear is not in these people's veins. You got New Jersey here, same thing. I'll throw up the chart here. Again, non-white 74 to 22%. You've got all the stuff out there. Black 91 to 5%. I mean, the writing's on the wall. That's New Jersey for you. You got North Carolina re-voted in the mayor, the DEI mayor that overlooked the killing of Ariana Zaratuska. Um, and they recently had another one. Some guy, um, let me look this up, or so I can't remember. It was like Dontarius, Jaquervius, Trayvon Martinez, Craig, who's been arrested 51 times, got let loose and killed and assaulted another one. I read another case from North Carolina, and the mayor says, we're not going to arrest our way out of this or whatnot. I forget her exact quote. You're not going to be able to arrest your way to safety or whatnot. So she lets out, all these criminals because of social justice, and they don't, they're oppressed and they don't deserve to go to prison for assaulting and armed robbery and harassing the community. So they let them back out to do it again and kill your sons and daughters. And you got the Detroit mayor up there. I saw she won re-election, and during her campaign speech or her victory or whatnot, she's dancing around to some trap music or something. These are the people running your country. This is not a serious country anymore. And the writing is on the wall. What I've always said, you are in a civil war. It's coming to your doorstep. Um, I wanted to talk more about this, about, the elections. We're getting going long here. I usually like to cut these videos out at like 15 minutes. We're already headed past that, headed towards 17 minutes. So I'll get back into it later. Um, I did want to talk about the No Kings protest and all that stuff too. And like I talked about the white liberal women and everything like that. Um, I don't know if you went to your local No Kings protest or whatnot, but I saw a lot of content creators cover them, and a lot of people were saying the very same thing. It wasn't as suspected. A lot of it was old white boomers, your typical, blued haired and pink hairs, um, the soy boys, Antifas, all these people, but it was majority white and boomer. Was what a lot of the crowds look like, and it's not just the invasion alone, man. We have a lot of people brainwashed in the conditioning that's been beaten into their heads, and we have a problem. We have a problem that we need to talk about, and I think, who was it? Someone wrote a tweet the other day that was like, something about um if all white people came together or whatnot, like we could win elections again. And then it's like, it's not happening, man. Your brainwashed white leftists, and a lot of them, the majority in this country, will fight beside of the Muslims. They'll fight on the side of the horde to take you over. And I don't know if you guys watch Hermes or whatnot. He's kind of like a man on the street videos of whatnot. And he does like racial realist videos, and he goes to college campuses and does this stuff. But he said when he went to Germany to talk to some of his family, he was like, one of the biggest black pills ever was the fact that they were talking about, oh, the rise of the right wing, and this rising white supremacy, and this white stuff is a big problem. And he was like, holy crap, man. Like, you literally have Muslim attacks every day. Little kids getting raped, a stabbing on a train, a beheading at a school. It's just nonstop. And like Joe Biden said, their politicians come out and go, the biggest threat is white supremacy. And, and I mean, it's just the conditioning, and people beat over the head with this nonsense. Why they watch their countries fall, but anything to not be called a bigot. Anyway, man, I'm getting way too long here. We're reaching 20 minutes, but if you stayed all the way to here, man, I appreciate it, and I really want, you to subscribe as I talk more about these topics. I'm going to get further into depth again on this, but this one's getting too long. Till the next one, you know what it is, man. We are on our own. Nobody's coming to save us. So get right with God, because only God can save you. Freedom Fighters out.